this video, I just want to show you a quick trick you can use if you're working on shaders for really thin curtains or fabrics. So I have a scene set up right here. It's an animated curtain, and behind it I have this guy who's just sitting there. Okay, so this is what it looks like when I render it. So I have some nice texture definition here, and it's transparent, and I kind of like the look. It's okay, but I think I can improve it a bit. So let's look at some references. So these are photographs of real curtains. What I want you to pay attention to here is that while this curtain is very thin and transparent, whenever you have curvature or angles in the cloth that are almost parallel to the viewing angle of the camera, then it's kind of like the transparency becomes opaque, and you can see it even more pronounced here. And the reason for that is that real fabric has actual thickness to it. It's made up of threads that are not infinitely thin, whereas when you're working with curtains in 3D, usually this is the case. This is just a flat surface that's been simulated and then curved and bent and all that, but it doesn't have any actual thickness to it. And while you could go in and add something like a shell modifier, this is not really a practical way to go, because this will just introduce a world of hurt once you try to shade it. So what we can do instead is we can fake it. So first of all, this is my shader tree. This is the main texture I'm using for both the color of the curtain, and I'm using it in a modified form with an output node to control the transparency. And then I can basically up the contrast to sort of tweak how transparent I want it to be. And I'm doing this in this contrast node. So in short, what I want to introduce to this shader that it doesn't have already is more opaqueness or less transparency whenever we're viewing the cloth almost parallel from the camera. So it's really simple. I'm just gonna add a Falloff shader, and you can just basically leave these settings by default. It's already set to perpendicular/parallel, which is what we want. And the Falloff direction is set to the viewing direction or the camera Z-axis. And we need to plug this into a composite map. Actually, I'm gonna switch this around a little bit. I want this to be layer 2, and the original opacity map up here, I want that to be layer 1. This way I can take the new Falloff map here and add it on top in here as layer 2, and I'm going to add it as addition. This way all the values from the Falloff map is going to be added to the original values that I'm using for transparency. So let's plug this into opacity, and let's do a render. All right, I'm just gonna make this smaller so I can tweak it on the fly. I'm gonna do an A and B comparison afterwards, you can see, but for now I just wanna tweak this a little bit. And we can do that down here in the color map. I'm just gonna set these to Bezier corner and give it a bit of an S-curve. Okay, so we're already getting some of that that we saw in the reference images. So whenever we have that curvature, it's gonna become more opaque. And also this is gonna add a lot of depth to the curtain, but we're still retaining that transparent look that we want. So let's just make this big and let it render. Okay, that's about done. Let's do a comparison. So this is the original render, and this is the new version with the Falloff added on top. Quite a dramatic change. And of course you can go in and then you can tweak the curve. And if you want the effect to be less pronounced, you can simply use the blending up here to set it to anywhere from 0 to 100% in terms of how much you want this Falloff map to be added. Anyway, that's the trick. Pretty easy to set up. easy to tweak, and I think it improves the look a lot. It adds a lot of depth and shape to the curtains, and it still retains that look of transparency that we want. And one more thing, I just wanted to show you that this also works if you take the shader and then plug it into a translucent two-sided material. So let's just plug that in here, and let's add this to the curtain and set the render to update. All right, I'm just gonna switch off this light and see if I can get this. Yeah, I just wanted to get the sun a bit lower, so we're gonna have some shadows from this guy on the curtain. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show you. If you find this useful or helpful, please let me know. And if there's anything else you'd like me to cover, then please let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye.